Eric Adams basically describes the apocalypse for New York City due to a wave of illegal immigrants in a shocking video saying, we're done. 10,000 illegal immigrants per month. And he does not see a solution to the problem. It's fascinating because a viral tweet has emerged in which Eric Adams said that New York will always be a sanctuary city. And now it can't be. You know, it's fascinating. People who live on the borders and who live in rural areas are experiencing these problems, are talking about the problems of mass illegal immigration. And in big liberal bastion cities, they say, oh, you're overreacting, and they resist. Something interesting happens. The governors of these states start sending the illegal immigrants to the sanctuary saying, fine, if you're happy with it, if you like what's going on, we'll send them your way. And oh no, now New York is doomed. Really. It really is fascinating. People who don't experience the problem, celebrate the problem, mock you for it. If only there was a solution, perhaps some kind of physical structure that would inhibit, slow down, or prevent illegal immigration to this country. If only there was a man who had proposed such a structure. You get it. Walls aren't perfect. Fences aren't perfect, but they're deterrents. The left likes to post these videos of people cutting through the bollard fencing. And it's like, that's not an argument against walls. It's an argument for more walls. Donald Trump famously wanted to build that wall, a big, beautiful wall, 30 feet tall, sea to shining sea. And instead, we got bollard fencing. In some areas, triple layered, did secure key areas that were problematic. And so I'll take it. I'll take whatever I can get. In fact, now it appears that even Joe Biden is still, because of course they would be, shoring up some of the border security. But it's still a big problem. And now we get to see not a story about hypocrisy, but a story of ramifications. And for all of you Democrats in New York City, you voted for this and you deserve it. However, you don't deserve what happens next if you adapt and address the issue. If you change your voting patterns, if you reject these policies, if you actually pay attention for once, then you deserve better. But if this is what you vote for, this is what you deserve. I want to play for you the clip in question. We have this from NYC Photog. It is Mayor Eric Adams telling everyone this is the apocalypse. And I want to stress what this means. Trump is right now projected to win. If the election happened today, analysts believe Trump would win. Although in the polling, it is a statistical tie between Trump and Biden. Trump has the edge, the margin of error being around 3%. Trump is up by 8%. So we don't know for sure. But the way things are trending, even CNN points out, never in 2019 or 2020 did we see a poll where Trump was ahead of Biden in this way. So take a look at what's happening to Democrats who have mocked the right, mocked Trump and mocked Republicans.
Support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we're getting Ecuador. Now we're getting Russian speaking coming through Mexico. Now we're getting Western Africa. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City. And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in this city is going to be impacted. We got a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut. Every service in this city is going to be impacted. All of us. And so I say to you, as I turn it over to you, this is some of the most educated, some of the most knowledgeable, probably more of my commissioners and deputy commissioners and chiefs live in this community. So as you ask me a question about migrants, tell me what role you played. How many of you organized to stop what they're doing to us? How many of you were part of the movement to say, we're seeing what this mayor is trying to do, and they're destroying New York City? It's going to come to your neighborhoods. All of us are going to be impacted by this. I said it last year when we had 15,000. I'm telling you now with 110,000. The city we knew, we're about to lose. And we're all in this together. All of us. Staten Island saying, send them out to Manhattan. Manhattan is saying, send them out to Queens. Queens is saying, send them out to Brooklyn. No. It's not the game we can play. Open the floor up.
This is basically the announcement that Donald Trump is going to win. Okay, look, I don't know what happens in the next year and a couple months. A lot can change. But Ann Coulter was talking about how immigration is on the ballot. And ladies and gentlemen, you're hearing it right now. You're not going to be a fan of hers for whatever reason, you like or dislike her. The point she made was immigration's on the ballot. I think she's right. I don't know to what, she said it was the principal issue, perhaps. Here's a funny tweet from Eric Adams. We should protect our immigrants, period. Yes, New York City will remain a sanctuary city under an Adams administration. October 20th, 2021. You deserve it. Every sweet word emitted from your mouth, Eric Adams, you deserve everything happening to you. And everyone in that city deserves everything that comes next. Austerity measures, severing of services. Oh boy. You mock and you insult, not just Donald Trump, but anybody who has the gall to say this is a problem. And now you're experiencing it. They've done you the favor. And you hear what he said about what these people are doing to us? The city you love will be gone. Wow. Some of the most vile white supremacist rhetoric I've heard in a very long time. Blaming those people, Eric Adams? Ooh, heavens me. Whatever, man. That's one of the reasons I leave New York City. I don't know, bombs were going off and people were rioting, so I was like, probably don't want to be here. Mismanagement? That's an understatement. And it's already a heavily taxed city. One of the few cities with its own income tax. Meaning, if you live in New York, you've got federal, state, and city income tax. Why? To pay for all of the problems they create. But by all means, people, keep living there. Because if you're happy, then fine, so be it. But it's going to get real interesting real quick. It already is. From the Daily Mail. Speaking to furious residents at a town hall meeting on Wednesday, he admitted he doesn't see a solution to the problem as he slammed the lack of help from Joe Biden. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. Well, that's too bad. Authorities are concerned that without an exit ramp, the situation could soon reach boiling point as furious protesters have clashed on the streets of the 5 boroughs, while more migrants are left homeless by the limited space. You see, these people, they voted against securing the border. They mocked it. Ocasio-Cortez lied left and right about what was really going on the border. Concentration camps. Y'all voted for her. So let me just say, I am left with no endless pleasure when I say this is what you voted for. And it brings me a schadenfreude satisfaction to see you now reap what you have sown. Okay, I'm a reasonable person. I hope that the experience you are having results in you all waking up and saying, perhaps we need to stop this. Maybe you'll consider voting out Ocasio-Cortez, who was in favor of these immigration policies. I'm not going to hold my breath. It's simple. I'm just going to choose not to live in that state where a bunch of ill-informed egotists vote for policies that destroys everything around them and then blames everyone else. They call it the locust effect. They come into New York, they vote for nonsense based on nonsensical things, emotional reasons, hatred. They bring in policies which destroy their city. Then they move out to areas where you have maintained things, vote for the same policies again, ravage and gut and destroy. Like locusts eating all of your crops from one crop field to another. The people who live here are going to flee the crisis they've created. They're then going to vote for the exact same policies that brought the crisis in the first place. Welcome to the cycle. The city has a legal obligation to give shelter to those who make their way to the metro, and Adams has desperately turned to a variety of city landmarks, makeshift shelters, and temporary housing, as short-term solutions. Almost every decision he makes over the issue has caught the ire of New Yorkers. I'm sorry. This is just so awesome. New Yorkers who vote 4-1 for the Democrats are now angry about it. You're angry about voting for a mayor who outright said you will be a sanctuary city. You got what you voted for. I'm chilling. It's not just New York. Take a look at this from the Daily Mail. Hundreds of migrants are hidden behind a black curtain at Chicago's O'Hare Airport as desperate families are left sleeping on the floor for up to 10 days after being flown in from Texas. I love this. I absolutely love this. Take a look at this story. Federal judge orders Texas to remove floating border barrier. Abbott immediately appeals the ruling. You can't blame Texas. Texas is actually trying to stop the migrant crisis, trying to create a barrier to prevent the flow of illegal immigration. And a federal court said no. Thanks, Joe Biden. Thank them all the Democrats you voted for. So all I can really say is maybe the suffering you are enduring right now will wake you up to the problem that is uncontrollable mass illegal immigration. To me, I'm of the opinion that everybody in the world should come to America. Every single person, every human being everywhere should come to America. Now, hold on there a minute. It's got to be done legally through a legal process, which means fill out the paperwork, wait till we have proper economic placing. And of course, that actually means migration would probably go down to a certain degree, especially the illegal immigration. But what I mean to say is, if you want to come here, apply. We'd love to have you. We've got to find out where it makes sense for you to go. We can't just let people randomly come into this country through the southern border that's open, because that results in crime and drug trafficking and human trafficking. A lot of people coming through are just looking for a better life, and I absolutely respect that. America's awesome, but there's a reason why we have a process. Imagine if everybody was trying to rush to the counter of McDonald's to order a cheeseburger. Nobody would get to. It would be bedlam. People would start leaving. That's why we form a queue, so we can take turns and do everything in an orderly way so that we can all benefit fairly. The people jumping the queue and coming into the country are just causing problems. They're trying to reap benefits without playing by the rules. That is awful. That is despicable. And so I got to tell you, the people from Central America who are coming to this country, from these various countries that Eric Adams mentioned, I have infinitely more respect for than many of these lefty Democrat types that are burning the country to the ground. Because at the very least, the people coming here believe in the American dream. These leftists hate America. They're probably gloating at what they're watching. This is crazy that Texas, let me read this quote. Governor Abbott announced that he was not asking for permission for Operation Lone Star, the anti-immigration program under which Texas constructed the floating barrier. Unfortunately for Texas, permission is exactly what federal law requires before installing obstructions in the nation's navigable waters. Federal District Judge David A. Ezra wrote in his order issuing a preliminary injunction to remove the barrier. Yeah. In Arizona, they set up a bunch of shipping containers to create a makeshift wall. And they were instructed to remove those as well, because the Biden administration is trying to intentionally destroy this country. Look, man, I am a reasonable person. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt when I can, but there is no logical reason to stop the border barriers in Arizona or here in Texas. Now, don't get me wrong. With Texas, like, oh, okay, they're blocking navigable waters. That doesn't explain why they're trying to shut down the wall itself, why they resist it, and why they're allowing this to persist. It doesn't explain why they have the policy of letting them come in and then flying them around the country. It doesn't explain why Joe Biden's administration was smuggling children on planes. Yeah, that's right. Taking illegal immigrant children, putting them on planes and flying them across the country. So the least that Texas and Florida and Arizona, those states, all these other red states can do is say, fine, if you want illegal immigrants to come to your city, your sanctuary city, we'll send them to you. But now look at the crocodile tears. The crocodile tears. But let's talk about where this goes. I hope you enjoy this one from CNN.
Within the margin of error, no clear leader. Donald Trump, 47%. Joe Biden, 46%. They're basically in a statistical tie. But what I will note was there was not a single poll conducted by CNN during the entire 2020 cycle in which Donald Trump got a higher share of the vote than Joe Biden did. So this is a vastly different picture from what we saw 4 years ago.
That is some very interesting context in all of this. What it means, we will see.
What it means is right now, Trump will beat Biden. It doesn't mean that it's a guarantee. It means as of right now, if the election were held today, Trump wins. Why? Trump lost by only 42,000 votes in 3 states. You think polling now above Biden for something CNN says never happened in the 2020 cycle? Yeah. I think it is a fair assessment to say if the election happened right now, Trump wins. I think immigration plays a huge role in this. And I think they're ignoring the problem. The New York Times writes, consistent signs of erosion in Black and Hispanic support for Biden. It's a weakness that could manifest itself as low Democratic turnout, even if Trump and Republicans don't gain among those groups. Bingo. They say Mr. Biden leads Trump by just 53% to 28% among registered non-white voters in a compilation of Time Siena polls from 22 and 23, which includes over 1,500 non-white respondents. The results represent a marked deterioration in Biden's support compared to 2020 when he had more than 70%. So let's consider this. Trump doesn't gain with these communities. There's a lot of arguments that Trump's doing better in the Black community, and they said the same thing last time around. But if Biden loses, well, there you go. If Biden is losing support among these groups, and he is precipitously, Trump doesn't need to gain 42,000 votes. That's all Trump needed. Okay, let's say Biden loses 30,000 and Trump only gains a few thousand. I mean, look, if Biden loses by 40, if Biden loses 42,000 votes, Trump won. Trump does not need a single new supporter if Biden loses 42,000 votes in these states. So this is why they are pulling out all the stops and they're trying to remove Trump's name from the ballot. We talked about this last night. Now Colorado, Arizona, New Hampshire, Florida. I don't see it happening in Florida. New Hampshire is a debate between certain Republicans. Should be interesting. We'll see. Arizona, maybe. We'll see what happens. Now, across the board, the AGs are saying, like, no, we can't do this. But the lawsuits are coming. They are going to try everything in their power to steal political power. That's the scary nature of where we're currently at. Earlier this morning, I did a segment about Owen Schroyer. He was outside the Capitol, but on the grass, so he's been criminally charged. And they said his speech is a factor in why he deserves to go to prison, before, during, and after. That's right. His protected speech after the event, where he celebrated to a certain degree, what he said, he said something like, to a certain degree, we should be proud. I certainly disagree, but he's allowed to say it. And that's justification for him to go to prison. That speech. Yeah, a lot of people are frustrated to see this, but you need to understand the most important factor here. The reason they are engaging in this behavior is because Trump is winning. And they know exactly what happens should a man like Trump get reelected. I have to imagine Trump's going to want revenge. They're saying that in his criminal trial with the national security documents, Trump will be testifying in his own criminal case. Now, typically, you're not supposed to do that. They say, don't testify. Sometimes people do. Rittenhouse did. Trump wants to because Trump wants to rally. Trump knows that him speaking in his defense will be one of the most powerful speeches or statements he ever gives. Sitting in a courtroom, being asked a question by the defense counsel, his lawyers, and then him being able to say what he wants to say. When it comes to the election charges from from Georgia and the federal government, which is coming out of D.C., I think that Trump and his lawyers are looking at it like, well, we will now be able to adjudicate the claims made in court for the American people to hear. That's partially why I think they're like, okay, we'll come in and we'll surrender. Trump and his team, these people being charged, have been trying for a long time to get their claims heard in open court. And it's going to be very interesting when the defense says, here's evidence of voter fraud sworn under oath and signed affidavits in a criminal proceeding. I wonder how they'll handle that. In the meantime, outside of all of that, I think when you look at the things they're doing in terms of criminal indictments, going after Trump supporters, it's because they know when Eric Adams comes out and says this city will fall and there is no solution moving forward and I don't know what we do because of immigration, you're going to get a lot of people who are going to say, I'm not voting for these people anymore. For one, you're going to get woke, crazy people who say that Adams is scapegoating migrants. I won't vote for him. Okay. You're going to get regular working class people who are going to be like, this is a huge problem and someone's got to deal with immigration. And you'll see a marked shift towards Trump or anybody willing to address illegal immigration. And this means the Democrats cannot win. And it means they can't win in the conventional sense. But with mass ballot harvesting and dirty games, perhaps. The shadow campaign to save the election, they said. I believe that if you were to have a single day of voting, paper ballots, Trump would win by a healthy sum. But we don't have that. The Democrats keep changing the rules, expanding voting and saying, oh, it's about enfranchisement. Yes, spare me, dude. The Constitution says we have an election day and we should have paper ballots. The problem, and there are challenges across the board, right? Paper ballots can get lost. There's a debate between, Mike Lindell and others about universal mail-in voting and things like that. Sure. You can get a batch of votes for Trump that disappear and a batch for votes for Biden appear. Who knows? I will say one of the big problems that we have in our elections is that we have a proprietary company. We have proprietary software, a company with proprietary software in the voting machines. We don't know what those voting machines do. So I reject that. Ian often brings it up on Timcast. That source code needs to be released to the public. Agreed. The source code for our voting machines should be open and available to the public for review. In the time being, I'm not convinced any of our elections are legitimate in the sense. Everyone says everyone's always cheating. Dude, if you think elections are people coming out and saying, vote for me for this reason, and then the other guy be like, well, you should vote for me for this reason, and then everyone signs their name and then we count it, that's not how it works. It's dirty games. It has always been dirty games, and it will continue to be dirty games. In the meantime, at least we can revel in the Democrats suffering under problems of their own making. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.